Sinn Féin will be supporting this bill, and I commend the Labour Party on bringing it forward. Myself and my party colleagues in Sinn Féin supported a similar bill from the Independent Group in October of 2021. And it is important that we see the development and implementation of a cross-departmental and multi-agency autism strategy with its legislative underpinning. In April 2019, my colleague Deputy Funchkin moved a motion on behalf of Sinn Féin calling for the development of an autism empowerment strategy and the establishment of an Oireachtas Autism Committee. Now, the motion received widespread cross-party support and a commitment was given at the time to deliver on both of these. Now, yesterday, the first public meeting of the Oireachtas Autism Committee took place, having been established in February, almost 3 years after the motion which called for it. And to date, and now more than 3 years since this motion was passed, the strategy is still not complete. Now, in April 2021, Minister Rabbitte announced her intention to establish a working group to develop an autism innovation strategy with the aim of launching it in early 2022. Now, I do acknowledge that COVID restrictions held this up, but it's only since the end of April this year a public consultation process was launched, and in early June an open call was made for expressions of interest to join the Autism Innovation Strategy Oversight and Advisory Group. And the Minister O'Gorman indicated on the back of the initial consultation a draft strategy is to be produced and a second public consultation is to be commenced. So I do welcome the progress on the draft strategy and acknowledge COVID restrictions slowed this process somewhat, but would like to see this delivered without any further delay, because 3 years since the initial motion is more than enough. Autism is a lifelong developmental condition which affects how people communicate and interact with the world. And while it is linked with challenges, it is also associated with cognitive strengths and talents. And autism is said to be a spectrum because while autistic people can experience the world differently in specific areas like sensory processing and communication, not all people will have the same profile of differences. And there are a number of key policy issues which need to be addressed in relation to autism. And firstly, in relation to assessment of needs and access to therapy services. Now, the Disability Act of 2005 provides for an assessment of need in order to determine the health or educational services required by a person with a disability. And then the Education for Persons with Special Educational Needs Act of 2004, the EPSIN Act, seeks to provide for an assessment of special educational needs so that further provision could be made for a child with such needs to be educated in an inclusive environment. Now, while the Disability Act was fully commenced, sections 3 to 13 of the EPSIN Act have not been commenced. And this is significant because the 2005 Act and the EPSIN Act were drafted to work in concert with one another. And in the absence of the procedure under the EPSIN Act, students who require an assessment of their educational needs are applying for an AON under the 2005 Act, which has put increasing pressure on the 2005 Act mechanism. And to try to relieve this pressure and speed up the process, the HSE introduced the preliminary team assessment in January 2020. However, after approximately 10,000 children went through a PTA, this process was found not to comply with the Disability Act, and these assessments have now been stopped. And each of the approximate 10,000 preliminary team assessments now have to be reviewed and each family engaged with to establish whether additional assessments are required. A significant waste of time for children, parents and therapists, not to mention public money, and the waiting list continues to expand. Secondly, in relation to appropriate school places for children with autism, all children have a constitutional right to education, and under the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, education must be accessible on an equal basis with others in the community they live in. There is a programme for government commitment to ensuring every child with an additional educational need has an appropriate school place. Yet, a recent As I Am survey revealed at least 260 children don't have an appropriate school place for this September. And this number is likely, however, to be much higher. We know 120 children alone in Dublin have no appropriate school place. It is likely that many of these children have autism. The Department of Education and NCSE have access to data on the true number of children who require a place, but haven't planned or acted accordingly. Lastly, I would like to highlight the severe lack of employment supports for autistic people. Over 85% of autistic people are either unemployed or underemployed. And recent research, again carried out by As I Am in collaboration with irishjobs.ie, revealed numerous perceived barriers to obtaining employment and found that the workplace is generally considered unaccommodating to the needs of autistic adults. There are many other issues, but I'm limited to the time allocated. So again, I would like to commend the Labour Party for introducing this legislation, which we will be supporting.